Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the build I've been rerolling into, which is a Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice Occultist. So Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice got a huge buff this patch with the release of the Whispers of Infinity Amulet. Alongside that, Self-Cast actually got buffed in the most hilarious way possible. You can easily get capped Soul Eater stacks for a total of 225% cast speed. What you see in the background is the worst possible version of what I've been putting together, because I literally did it today on stream over on twitch.tv/Palsteron, and I played this for like an hour, so I haven't really min-maxed it yet, but I'm going to talk about the version that I'm playing. You might have also seen Jung, who has a Golem Poison version. This one will be hit-based, it will be crit, and it will revolve around actually making the build comfy, meaning high AoE, high projectile speed. All right, let's get the most obvious out of the way. Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice basically gives you flat damage per energy shield that you have. This is mostly balanced around the fact that you also take damage, right? Chaos damage. Now, you could say, oh, just go CI, but you can't because it also has a life cost. And if you go CI normally, that means you can't pay the life cost. So that's how they went around it. But this patch, they released Whispers of Infinity. Skills cost energy shield instead of mana or life. So that means you basically get to cast this for free, which is kind of huge for a few reasons. Obviously, it's a very strong skill to begin with. It has a ton of damage, but as well as that, you can spam it. So with old FR, there was always a little bit of a consideration between, I don't know, cast speed, having to get recouped to actually refill your HP. That is now not really the case anymore. This is just straight up a caster, and there's no recoup involved. There's a few things to know about this skill. So it has an initial projectile, and then you can add more on top. But it also has fires extra projectiles at up to 10 surrounding enemies. So if you're standing in your hideout, you don't really see that, right? All you see is the projectiles that get added. But when you're in a pack, you can actually see how much damage. Okay, let's actually... Oh, my Merc is killing it. Never mind. Reserve. Okay. So if you go here, you can see there's 10 nearby enemies. Projectiles get fired at everything. That's how you can actually see what it goes. And one of the nice things about FR is you don't actually have to go cast on crit unless you want to, because it's auto-targeting. Like, sure, where I hit, my projectiles will go, but all the others are aimbots, right? So I click here, and it still aims all the way here. And yes, extra projectiles can shotgun. So on top of, I don't know, with 10k ES right now, 10k times 0.2 is obviously 2,000 flat chaos that I'm getting, plus the initial chaos, and then that can hit up to 5 times. I'm a little bit rusty on my FR, so I don't exactly know if projectiles beyond 5, they will not shotgun as far as I remember, but I don't know if they would like throw it off like Toxic Rain. I just tried to stay at 5. But the biggest mistake you can make with Forbidden Rite is not scaling projectile speed. AoE, now we're standing, without projectile speed, it feels like really bad. So I have a lot of projectile speed from my gloves right here, so I'm going to compensate that with slower proj to show you how it looks at 0 proj speed. So this is how your skill looks, right? This is how it looks. That's the delay. The difference between this and like this is just, it's not even... I know projectile speed doesn't show up, but I honestly can tell you, if you craft yourself gloves like this, you'll lose like 5% damage or something over a normal 6-link. Plus 2 gem levels obviously are not on the gloves anymore, but the projectile speed, proj damage, hybrid mod got moved from the AMI to gloves, so that's pretty cool. But just trust me, if you actually want to play the build and it's not just about PoE, you'll very quickly understand why this is so big. There's a few things going on. Honestly, I tried finding who first came up with this on Reddit, but there were so many people posting about this, so whoever you are, shout out to you. I saw so many threads about Coiling Whisper and different setups. I did a little bit of a change to it, and I'm very happy with how it works, and I'm going to show you how. So having the 4-link with the Forbidden Rite of Sacrifice really opened up my 6-link, and actually put Bladefall of Tartarus into a 6-link, and I'm going to explain how this works. So Coiling Whisper, when 90% of your Hex's duration expires on an enemy, eat 1 soul per enemy power. Enemy power, normal mobs 1, so you get 1 stack, magic 2, rare 5, unique 20. Maximum Soul Eater stacks is 45, which is 225% increased attack and cost speed. It is ridiculous how good this ring is, and I'm gonna explain how I proc it. So first up is Bladefall of Tartarus. So this is a new gem that you just toggle at the start of the map once. I just clicked it, and it ticks every 0.7 seconds multiplied by a little bit of your mana, but in general, it ticks like every 0.6 seconds. We use this to apply Temporal Chains level 1 with Hex Touch level 1. Hex Touch level 1 has 50% reduced curse duration, and Temporal Chains level 1 only has a base duration of 5. So what happens is you want to get the curse duration down as much as you can. So if you look right here, our temporal chains in PoB has a skill duration of 0.198. Actually, it's 0.462. Yeah, that's what it was. The other one was with more investment. So the way you can achieve this is by either going for an impossible escape here and grab all these free nodes with window of opportunity. That's what I wanted to do first, but they are so expensive. And as well as that, it doesn't really matter. You don't really need it because you can grab the 10% from Hasty Demise over here. For 3 points, you also get a little bit of cast speed. So you get reduced duration here, reduced duration there. And the thing is, Hex Touch, you can't level it because the reduced curse duration actually goes up. It increases the curse duration over and over. It is reduced. That is additive with other sources of reduced. And now looking back to the ring, if your curse duration is that low, you're going to apply it. And after 0.46 seconds, right, times 0.9, it's going to run out. So it basically applies, immediately runs out, and gives you the soul stacks. Now, the reason I made this a 6-link, though, is because you had to invest more reduced duration, usually. So without the Mage Bane setup, you had to use something like the ring with 15% reduced duration. I'll put it on the screen right here. I forgot how it's called. But instead, I opted to use my 6-link that I now opened up by having a 4-link and put in Swift Affliction, which also has 25% less duration, which lowers my duration as well. So I don't need this expensive impossible escape, and I don't need that ring implicit opening me up for a helical ring, which can solve a lot of issues. Obviously, this one is trash right now, but I'm going to recraft it eventually. Doesn't really matter. I can use the build. And on top of that, in the 6-link, I also have a spot for Lightning Warp, which is going to be my movement skill. Now, you can go Lightning Warp or you can go Frost Blink, but the funny part is Lightning Warp fits in perfectly. First up, it also gives you another proc for your Soul Eater stacks alongside the Bladefall. So if you're Lightning Warping into a pack, you get it more consistently and apply the curse, plus all the AoE we're getting. And on top of that, Lightning Warp is great with less duration and reduced duration, which we have in this setup anyways because of the temp chains. So why am I power charge stacking? The reason is I've been popping this over the last few days. Literally when I saw this amulet in day one, I was like, I'm gonna play it. But then Dreamcore made a video about it. I was like, oh god, now I have to start it earlier. So here we are. But the deal is this. This skill has a ton of flat damage, so +2 levels is not very good, which means that usually your weapons aren't that great. A lot of your payoffs of rare weapons, for example, is to get that +2 and then other stats. But if you don't have that, then that's a little bit of an issue. But that's not a problem for Power Charge Stacker, which is why it fits perfectly with the Void Battery, Malachi's Loop. It just gives you raw power. It doesn't really add anything to your flat, which you already have more than enough of because you get 20% of your max ES, which is going to be 2,000 to 3,000. My body armor right now is still missing like round about 200 ES, and my gloves are missing like 100. So I can get to realistically 13 to 14k. So beyond just getting a ton of increased damage per power charge from these two, you're also getting spell block per power charge. I currently have 12 power charges and 12 absorption charges at the same time, which means that I'm getting 60 spell block from it. And the reworked Occultist here is Vile Bastion, and it's perfect for this build. So why Occultist and not, for example, Elementalist, right? You see a lot of Elementalists scaling golems with the global defense and golem effect and whatnot. I popped the versions and I honestly don't think it's worth it, straight up. I'm sorry. It's still a good version if you are poison, but I don't believe in poison because you already have delayed damage and then delayed damage on top. It's just, I don't really feel it. And I've popped them. It just, Occultist is just great. It is 75% ES from here, and then also the small nodes for over 100. So if we're using Ralakash Impatience, the downside of Malachi's Loop isn't really there because we don't need to gain the power charges ever, and the absorption charges are different from the belt. So I currently don't have a +1 power charge ring. The second ring is obviously blocked, and I still have 12 power charges. So yeah, we can never reach this. It never happens. As well as that, I can use Will Clash. I'm never losing all my power charges, right? Will Clash gives you 60% spell block straight up with 12 charges, which, I mean, it saves you so many points on the passive tree. As well as that, you really want to be spell block capped because of Vile Bastion. This got reworked. You now get maximum energy shield increased by chance to block spell damage, which is 75, plus the small nodes for a total of 100%, which is quite huge. And on top of that, the absorption charges. So what they do is they give you 12% of LE damage recoup for energy shield. Energy shield usually doesn't really have recoup. And that used to be a meme, but I don't think it really is anymore. Don't get me wrong, it's not a game changer. But this belt alone, even without the absorption charges, +1 power charge, lightning res, ES, and then any corruption you want is just already better than basically any crystal belt. Not better than Mage Blood, obviously, but we're not working in that kind of budget yet. And then the absorption charges on top are actually quite good. So it's only elemental recoup. But the thing is, with the Mercs, we're getting 25% conversion from Chaos Binding. Plus, I'm actually yoinking the Shaper of Flames from Elementalist for a total of 65% Fizz taken as Ellie, and that one then also gets recouped. On top of that, we also have Leech, as always, with Instant Leech, and we have a ton of hits, as you might have noticed, especially with the amount of cast speed we have. And on top of that, there's also the fact that Bladefall of Tartarus actually doesn't degen us. So the cost of this is 5% of mana per second. But here's the kicker, it's a cost, which means it does not interrupt your recharge. So your recharge will always go against it and you will never degen. As well as that, the degen is not as bad because the degen, even though it's converted with the amulet from mana cost to ES cost, still takes the amount of mana you have, which you don't have all that much because the Ami also reduces your mana. So in reality, the cost of this is actually 32 ES degen per second, which, I mean, even if we don't factor in Energy Shield, like just recharge, Bile Basher makes up alone. Now, I'm actually spell block and block capped, and you might be surprised by that because getting block capped, attack block capped, is really annoying on top side. But the way I do it is with a clever Red Nightmare setup. So Red Nightmare converts 50% of fire resistance in its radius to attack block, and you already have 8% from Faith and Steel right here. You can allocate Holy Dominion, and then you can take these strength nodes right here and tattoo them into fire res for a total of, I think it gives me 24% block right now. And then we also take Sanctuary over here. And the last 9% block is from my body armor, which, like I said, is currently not all that great. I'll definitely have to increase that. If you don't know, after the new bases got added, you can easily, quote unquote, get over 1,200 ES. This one is quite a good contender. It has 26 quality only, but I'll try and craft it. The biggest thing about this build, though, in terms of what it needs is stats, and that's strength and dexterity. So I literally, just to start playing the build, throw in a helical in here with 90 strength, 90 dex, and that's about all it has. I'm obviously going to reconsider how I do this in the future. But yeah, as for AoE, I'm kind of looking for around about 100 to 150% AoE. Most of that is actually global because we have Profane Bloom. Profane Bloom is an absolute game changer. I absolutely love this. Withering Presence is decent as well, but it just can't be beaten. And it's also one of the reasons I really like Occultist over Elementalist. The Forbidden Power gives 72 global AoE, which counts for your explosions and your skills and your auras, like just everything, right? As well as that, I have 2 medium clusters with Vast Power for a total of 50% as well, and then also Magnifier with 10% each. A nice little addition is this Rune Graft right here, which also makes attributes a little bit more annoying, but it gives 40% global defense, so on top of giving me the obvious 40% ES, it also helps my Grace and my Jade Flask. I do also have a Stone Golem here for the occasional 24% increased ES, but it's on a cost when damage taken level 20. We're taking quite a bit of raw damage because we have such a big hit pool, so it is quite easy. We have a lot of recoup. So Stone Golem is up like 50% of the time. I wouldn't really tick it in POB. I also have Immortal Call. I'm probably going to put in Frost Shield. Other than that, I don't think there's anything interesting here. Awakened Spell Echo is very nice. If you're going for something like a Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh with Shape of Winter. I was trying it. I didn't really like it, so I went for the Forbidden combo with Shaper of Flame, like I said. I think that one is incredible because Fizz Hit is your biggest weakness. Do note that if you don't choose to go for the 4 link, one of your links will probably be Awakened Void Manip, and then you cannot ignite. So then you can't use Shaper of Flames. This is especially important for people who are playing this on Elementalist and don't know about it. I've seen those setups on Pure Ninja. If you're called out by that, swap it around. Unfortunately, the Void Manip, deal no elemental damage, also nullifies your ignite. Other than that, though, my flasks are a little bit goofy. I'm honestly not really sure what to do with my last suffixes. Maybe there's some unique options. I'm assuming this will go through some more iterations. I don't know if there's anything fancy here. I guess I have a Militant Faith. The mods don't really matter. Now, obviously, I just have it to get Inner Conviction, which is 36% more damage. You might argue put it here. It affects more nodes. You actually don't want that because it converts your Int, which is 2% ES each. So funnily enough, unless you really need the res or anything else, it's actually worse. And you want it on a spot where it hits the least amount of nodes. But let's talk about other versions of the build because you're going to see this skill quite a bit, and I kind of want to explain why I'm playing this version as well as what the other versions are about. There's an Elementalist Golem's Poison version, which basically stacks as much Golem effect as possible. And I personally not really like digging it that much. I think it's very powerful, and if you invest a lot into golems, it's fine. There's a few problems. So these are the golem buffs. This is with 200% increased effect. Obviously, you can get more. But just in terms of like the mods, think about what you get here. Increased attack and cast speed. You already have so much cast speed. It has crazy diminishing returns. Mana regen does nothing. Life regen does nothing. Chaos res, your CI, does nothing. Damage over time multi, okay. And then these are really what you're getting, right? This is like the bread and butter. But a lot of the golems effect and a lot of the golem stuff is going to go wasted. So in order to really use this well, you need to make use of the damage over time multi. And if that's the case, then you're forced into poison. And honestly, I've seen these poison builds out there. They have no proj speed, they're delayed, and then the poison is delayed again. I don't feel like it really fits on the build, but if you want to play the Golem Elementalist version, please reconsider and get at least 50 to 60 proj speed. If you can, maybe even fit in the gloves. Your build is going to feel 100% better. Also, you're pretty crit multi-starved anyways, so it's going to be quite good. Like I said, for me, it was like a 5% damage downgrade to get 100 proj speed. The way to craft these is quite easy. It's kind of like spark gloves. Not easy, but not as RNG as you might think. I'll link to a local crafting video down below. Spark gloves used to just be about also gem levels, but those got removed. But once again, Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice gets almost nothing per level. Also, don't go for a 2120. The only reason I bought this is because it was very cheap on day 2. Now, Trickster version is interesting. I think that Trickster could be the strongest version, but it's going to need a ton of currency. I couldn't really figure out how to fix a lot of problems. So if you had a Mage Blood, for example, stun immunity wouldn't be an issue anymore, right? Like that's also sometimes an issue on, for example, the Elementalist. You're stun immune on Occultist. That's huge. You get Explodey. That's huge. This one, just a very straightforward, strong one, but against some of the Mercenaries, the reduced life regen is absolutely huge as well. And then you get Forbidden Power, so you figure out your AoE as well. It is a ton of damage, +1 power charge, hard to beat, right? So you'll have to figure out your damage elsewhere, which is probably going to be with gear. You can grab Deadly Infusion, which is decent, but crit is not really all that big of an issue. Right now, I'm still missing quite a bit, and a Diamond Flask and whatnot, and I'm already almost capped with how many Partridge we have. But in theory, you could get like 50k evasion, you could do like Ghost Dance, and this would be by far, I think, the tankiest version. But on the damage side, you'll have to compensate with gear. I would be really surprised if we're not going to see this in the next few weeks once people have a ton of currency, though. And the last one that needs even more currency, I think, is going to be attribute stacking. Now, this is just going to be something you'll have to wait for Captain Lance, whether he's going to make it or not. The reason is simple. Int is 2% ES per. So if you get like 3,000 int, that's like 600% increased energy shield. Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to be good. Maybe it's going to be an Inquisitor thing with like Righteous Providence, buy stacking. I don't know. There's not that many payoffs actually, but I think you could easily make that work. But there we're probably talking, in order to outpace a Power Charge stacker, we're probably talking, I don't know, like 1,000 Divines or so. But they are going to exist. I really do think so. And I'm pretty sure they're going to outscale even a lot of the Mira tier Elementalists once everybody has their Megalomaniacs and whatnot. But this one is a big question mark because you are an attribute stacker that has to sacrifice their amulet, which, as you might know, is a pretty big deal. So big if, big question mark, but can't wait to see it. With that said, I'll leave you my current POV down below. Also, if you have any ideas what to do with these sockets, I just freed them up. I was thinking about maybe going for an extra cost of damage taken setup. Not 100% sure. Maybe there's some tech. I heard some people are doing like Tempest Shield with like the Soul Eater stacks and whatnot. We'll see. Either way, I'm really hyped and really stoked about this because it's quite of like a new archetype-ish. A lot of people are hyped about this one. A lot of people are playing it. Jung is playing the Golem Elementalist version right now. People are making videos about it. If you haven't considered, if you take anything away from this video, try out Coiling Whisper in your build, no matter what you are. If you can fit in just a Foiling, Bladefall, Temp Chains, Hex Touch plus less duration, you can make it work on most builds. You'll have to sacrifice a little bit, but even on attack-based builds, I've seen it, and it's completely wild. For example, with Leap Slam and whatnot, and obviously a ton of damage. Now, for Merc, I'm not really sure what I go yes. I got this infamous Cruel Mistress, which has Despair, which is huge, and then Zealotry, which means I can drop Zealotry for Grace. It has Void Sphere is actually quite nice for clear. Despair makes it nice. I have the Anathema, so I can apply the Enfeeble as well, which is reduced damage taken. Then I have a combo of Serpentine Spellslinger with Inextricable Fate. This means that, well, enemies are going to be Grasping Vine, but on top of that, I'm getting Serpentine Spellslinger, which means -5 Chaos Res to enemies. It's not a big deal, but it's quite nice. I get the 15% call from Eternal Struggle because Searing Exarch, a little bit of Leer cast. So right now, obviously Kiam's binding. Right now, I'm not really sure what to do with it. I don't know if there's like anything crazy, but it is quite strong. If you have any ideas, also put them down in the comments. But yeah, expect a build guide in the next 2 to 4 days whenever I figured everything out. I'm going to test a lot of different setups. I feel very tanky on the build right now, but maybe we can do even more. I really want to get endurance charges into the build. The problem is my Merc can't use a shield, so I can't go replicas with Victarios. I also have to figure that out. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Maybe it gave you some ideas. And yeah, since I still have a slogan, see you next time.